The gentle lapping of water against the pool's edge was the only sound breaking the silence of the luxurious resort. Nadia Hassan adjusted her simple black swimsuit and slipped quietly into the warm water, letting out a soft sigh of relief. After 3 days of intense company meetings and presentations, she desperately needed this moment of peace. The marketing team retreat had been exhausting. As the youngest graphic designer in the firm, Nadia felt constant pressure to prove herself. Tonight, while her colleagues celebrated in the resort's bar, she chose solitude over socializing. The pool area was supposed to be closed after 10, but the security guard had winked and let her pass, recognizing her dedication to the company. Moonlight danced across the water's surface as Nadia floated on her back, her dark hair spreading like silk around her shoulders. The warmth of the heated pool contrasted beautifully with the cool evening breeze. For the first time in months, her mind felt clear, free from deadlines and client demands. "I didn't expect to find anyone here." Nadia's eyes snapped open, and she quickly stood in the shallow end, water cascading down her form. A tall figure stood at the pool's edge, his hands casually tucked into the pockets of expensive dark pants. Even in the dim lighting, she recognized him immediately. Omar al-Rashid, the enigmatic CEO of Rashid Technologies, the company that had recently acquired her firm. "Mr. al-Rashid. I'm sorry, I know the pool is closed. I should leave." Nadia moved toward the ladder, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. "Please, don't let me interrupt your peace." Omar's voice was surprisingly gentle, lacking the commanding tone she'd heard in boardrooms. "I often walk the grounds when I can't sleep. The water looks inviting." Something in his tone made Nadia pause. She'd only seen Omar from a distance during corporate meetings, a powerful figure in tailored suits, surrounded by advisors and assistants. But now, with his shirt collar open and his usually perfect hair slightly tousled by the breeze, he seemed almost human. "You can't sleep either?" she asked, surprising herself with her boldness. Omar smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his entire face. "Success has a way of keeping the mind restless. May I?" He gestured toward the pool chairs. Nadia nodded, swimming to the pool's edge but remaining in the water. Omar sat on the edge, rolling up his sleeves and letting his feet dangle in the warm pool. The simple action somehow bridged the vast social distance between them. "You're Nadia Hassan, aren't you? From the creative team." It wasn't a question. "I've seen your work. The campaign for the environmental initiative was brilliant." You know my work." Nadia couldn't hide her amazement. "I make it my business to know talent when I see it." Omar's eyes met hers directly. "Though I must admit, seeing you here tonight, you seem different from the woman in the conference room." "We all wear masks during the day," Nadia replied softly. "This is just me." "Then I'm honored to meet the real you, Nadia Hassan." As they talked under the star-filled sky, both realized this unexpected encounter was the beginning of something neither had planned for. The next evening, Nadia found herself walking toward the pool area with nervous anticipation. She told herself she was simply seeking another peaceful swim, but her heart knew the truth. She hoped to find Omar there again. As she rounded the corner, she saw him sitting by the water's edge, still in his business shirt but with sleeves rolled up, looking surprisingly approachable. "You came back," he said with a warm smile, standing as she approached. "The water was too tempting to resist," Nadia replied, though they both understood the real reason this time. Their conversation flowed more naturally. Omar shared stories of his childhood in Damascus, how his grandmother would tell him tales under the olive trees, and how those memories still brought him comfort during stressful business dealings. Nadia spoke of her family's small apartment in Cairo, where her mother encouraged her artistic dreams despite their modest means. "I never expected to leave Egypt," Nadia confessed as they sat side by side at the pool's edge. "But when the opportunity came to work in Dubai, Mama insisted I take it. She said dreams don't wait for perfect timing." "Wise woman," Omar nodded. "My father built this company from nothing, working 18-hour days. He taught me that success means nothing without someone to share it with." His voice grew quieter. "Yet here I am, 35 years old, surrounded by people but feeling completely alone most days." Nadia turned to study his profile in the moonlight. "Loneliness doesn't discriminate based on bank accounts, does it?" "No, it doesn't." Omar's honesty surprised even himself. "In boardrooms, I'm decisive, confident. But in moments like this, I wonder who I really am beneath all the expectations. Their third night together brought deeper revelations. Nadia shared her secret dream of opening her own design studio specializing in cultural preservation projects, creating visual identities for traditional crafts and heritage sites. Omar listened intently, asking thoughtful questions that showed he truly valued her aspirations. You have vision beyond commercial success, he observed. That's rare in our industry, and you have depth beyond business achievements, Nadia countered. I see how you remember every employee's name, how you ask about their families during meetings. That's not typical CEO behavior, Omar laughed softly. My grandmother always said that power without compassion is just another form of poverty. As the week progressed, their evening meetings became the highlight of both their days. They discovered shared interests. Both loved classical Arabic poetry, had traveled extensively but felt most at peace near water, and believed that authentic human connections were becoming rare in their digital world. One evening, Omar brought a thermos of traditional mint tea, and Nadia surprised him with homemade marmal cookies her mother had taught her to make. They picnicked by the pool, sharing childhood memories and laughing at stories that revealed their similar values despite different backgrounds. I've never told anyone about my grandmother's stories, Omar admitted. Business associates would think it's unprofessional sentiment. Then they don't deserve to know the real Omar al-Rashid, Nadia said firmly. The man who remembers bedtime stories is more interesting than any corporate biography. Their connection deepened with each conversation, creating an intimate bubble where social status dissolved and two souls simply recognized each other. Yet both sensed that this magical week at the resort was temporary, and reality would soon intrude on their secret world. On their final evening before returning to the city, they sat in comfortable silence, both aware that something profound had shifted between them, but uncertain how to preserve it in their everyday lives. Back in Dubai's corporate environment, maintaining their connection proved more challenging than either had anticipated. Nadia returned to her small cubicle in the design department, while Omar resumed his corner office existence, surrounded by executives and endless meetings. The magical intimacy of their resort conversations felt like a beautiful dream that daylight had dissolved. Nadia threw herself into her work, but found her mind constantly wandering to their evening talks. During lunch breaks, she'd catch glimpses of Omar in the executive elevator or walking through the lobby with his entourage, looking every inch the powerful businessman. The contrast with the vulnerable man who'd shared mint tea by the pool was jarring. 2 weeks passed without any personal contact. Then, unexpectedly, Nadia received a message on the company's internal system, Conference Room 15B, 7 p.m. Her heart raced as she realized he'd found a way to arrange a private meeting. The conference room was empty when she arrived, but Omar appeared moments later, looking slightly nervous despite his usual composed demeanor. I've been thinking about our conversations every day, he said without preamble. I didn't want what we shared to just disappear. I thought maybe it was just vacation nostalgia, Nadia admitted. Seeing you here, in your real world, I wondered if I imagined the connection. You didn't imagine anything. Omar's voice was firm. But I'm realizing how complicated this situation is. Their secret meetings resumed, but now in sterile conference rooms after hours instead of under starlit skies. The magic was harder to recapture in fluorescent lighting, yet their bond continued growing stronger. They talked about books, shared articles they thought the other might enjoy, and Omar began seeking Nadia's creative input on projects beyond her official responsibilities. However, their careful discretion couldn't prevent office speculation. Ronia, Nadia's closest colleague, noticed her staying late more frequently and questioned the mysterious meetings. You've been different since the retreat, Ronia observed during their coffee break. More distracted, but also glowing somehow. Is there someone special? Nadia deflected the questions, but rumors began circulating. Whispers followed her through the hallways, speculation about why the new designer was having private meetings with the CEO, why her recent project proposals were receiving unusually favorable attention. The situation escalated when Hassan, a senior designer who resented Nadia's rapid rise, made pointed comments during a team meeting about special relationships and unfair advantages. Though he didn't name anyone specifically, his meaning was clear to everyone present. That evening, Omar noticed Nadia's distress immediately. What happened today? People are talking, she said quietly. They think I'm receiving preferential treatment, that our friendship is influencing business decisions. Let them talk, Omar replied, but Nadia shook her head. It's not that simple for me. You're established, respected, powerful. But I'm still proving myself here. If people believe my success is based on personal relationships rather than talent, it destroys everything I've worked for. Omar felt the weight of their different positions acutely. What are you saying? Maybe we should step back, Nadia said, the words painful to speak. Maybe this connection, as beautiful as it is, isn't worth the cost to my career. Their conversation ended in uncomfortable uncertainty, both recognizing the very real obstacles that their different social and professional positions created. The fairy tale was colliding with harsh reality, and neither knew how to bridge the gap between their hearts and their circumstances. The week following their difficult conversation was torturous for both Nadia and Omar. They maintained professional politeness during necessary work interactions, but the warmth and intimacy they'd shared seemed irretrievably lost. Nadia threw herself into her projects with fierce determination, determined to prove her worth through undeniable talent, while Omar found himself distracted during important meetings, his thoughts constantly drifting to their lost connection. The breaking point came during the company's monthly all-hands meeting. Hassan, emboldened by the whispered rumors, made a presentation about maintaining professional boundaries and ensuring merit-based advancement. While carefully avoiding direct accusations, his implications were clear to everyone present. Nadia felt every eye in the room turn toward her, and she fought to maintain her composure as her cheeks burned with humiliation. Omar, sitting at the executive table, watched Nadia's quiet dignity in the face of public humiliation and felt something snap inside him. This brilliant, kind woman was being diminished because of their connection, and he realized that his silence was a form of cowardice that betrayed everything he claimed to value. After the meeting, Omar made an unprecedented decision. Instead of returning to his office, he asked his assistant to clear his afternoon schedule. Then, surprising everyone, he approached Nadia's department directly, something he'd never done before. "Nadia, could I speak with you?" His voice carried across the design floor, causing conversations to stop and heads to turn. In the privacy of her small office, Omar spoke with quiet intensity. "I won't let you face this alone anymore. What we have is real, and hiding it implies there's something wrong with our feelings." "Omar, you don't understand the position this puts me in," Nadia protested. "No, you don't understand the position it puts me in," he countered. "I'm falling in love with you, and pretending otherwise is destroying us both." His declaration hung in the air between them. Nadia's eyes widened as she processed his words, not just the confession of love, but his willingness to make it openly, regardless of consequences. That afternoon, Omar surprised the entire company by calling an impromptu meeting. Standing before his employees, he spoke with characteristic directness but unusual personal vulnerability. "I want to address recent speculation about relationships within our company," he began. Nadia Hassan is an exceptionally talented designer whose work has consistently exceeded expectations. Her contributions to our environmental initiative and cultural heritage projects demonstrate creativity and vision that any company would value. He paused, scanning the faces of his audience. "She's also someone I deeply respect and care for personally. I'm telling you this because transparency matters more to me than protecting myself from gossip. If anyone has concerns about professional conduct or favoritism, I invite you to examine the quality of Nadia's work, which speaks for itself." The room was silent as Omar's words sank in. He just publicly acknowledged his feelings while simultaneously defending Nadia's professional integrity. Later that evening, they met again by the fountain in the building's lobby, neutral ground that felt safer than either of their offices. "You didn't have to do that," Nadia said softly. "Yes, I did," Omar replied. "I realized that protecting our connection means being brave enough to claim it publicly. I won't let fear or social expectations cost me the most genuine relationship I've ever had." Nadia felt tears prick her eyes. "And what if this doesn't work? What if the complications prove too difficult?" Omar took her hands gently. "Then we'll face those challenges together, honestly. But hiding how we feel helps no one and honors nothing." Their first public step together felt both terrifying and liberating, setting the stage for whatever would come next. In the weeks following Omar's public acknowledgement, the office atmosphere shifted dramatically. Initially, there was increased scrutiny of Nadia's work, with some colleagues examining her projects with heightened criticism. However, the quality of her output consistently spoke for itself. Her innovative designs for the Cultural Heritage Campaign won industry recognition, and her environmental initiative graphics were featured in an international marketing publication. More importantly, Omar kept his word about transparency and fairness. He established new protocols ensuring that all project assignments and performance evaluations were reviewed by multiple department heads, removing any possibility of favoritism. He also began delegating more design decisions to department managers, creating clear boundaries between his personal relationship and professional oversight. Nadia appreciated these measures, but she also began asserting herself more confidently. During a team meeting where Hassan again made veiled comments about special treatment, she addressed him directly. "Hassan, if you have concerns about the quality of my work, let's discuss specific projects and outcomes," she said calmly. Professional critique helps everyone improve, but vague implications help no one. Her direct approach surprised her colleagues and earned quiet respect from many who had remained neutral during the earlier tensions. Ronia later pulled her aside with admiration. "You handled that perfectly. You showed strength without defensiveness." Omar, watching from afar as Nadia navigated these challenges with grace and intelligence, fell even deeper in love with her resilience and integrity. Their relationship developed naturally over the following months. They made a point of spending time together outside the office context, sharing meals, attending cultural events, visiting art galleries. Omar discovered Nadia's passion for preserving traditional crafts, while Nadia learned about his philanthropy work supporting education initiatives across the Middle East. The turning point came when Nadia's mother visited from Cairo. Nadia was nervous about introducing Omar to her family, but he insisted on meeting the woman who had raised such an extraordinary daughter. The evening went wonderfully, with Omar speaking fluent Arabic and showing genuine interest in her mother's stories about raising Nadia as a single parent. "He listens with his heart, not just his ears," Nadia's mother told her privately. "That's rare in any man, regardless of his wealth." 6 months later, Omar surprised Nadia by proposing at the very pool where they'd first met, during a company retreat at the same resort. The entire design team was present, along with his executives, when he knelt by the water's edge and spoke in both Arabic and English. "Nadia, you taught me that authentic connection is worth more than any business success. You showed me that love isn't about power or position, but about seeing and accepting each other completely. Will you continue that journey with me?" Through happy tears, Nadia said yes, and the applause that erupted around the pool included many colleagues who had initially been skeptical but had witnessed the genuine nature of their relationship. Their wedding took place a year later in a ceremony that beautifully blended their cultural traditions. The reception was held at the same resort, with the celebration extending to the pool area where paper lanterns floated on the water's surface under the stars. Hassan, who had eventually apologized for his earlier behavior, made a toast. "I learned that real love elevates everyone around it." Nadia and Omar showed us that authentic relationships make workplaces stronger, not weaker. As Nadia and Omar danced their first dance as husband and wife beside the moonlit pool, they reflected on how a simple evening swim had led to a love that transcended social boundaries and proved that genuine connection could flourish even in the most unexpected circumstances. Their story became a beloved legend in the company, proving that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with vulnerability, develop through courage, and triumph through authenticity. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.